If there's a phrase I'm getting sick of here at the BBTV Talking Tech Show, it is digital transformation. The daily pitches we get to interview a company inevitably says leader or expert in digital transformation, even if all they do is websites. Now, I'm not blaming those companies for jumping on the phrase bandwagon. After all, it's used so much by government, you'd think it's a manifesto in itself. But let's look at it from a medium-sized business upwards. The CEO knows their business, can't be left behind in the change to digital. But he's heard so many horror stories from fellow CEOs about, let's call it, piecemeal digital transformation. You know, one thing or one department at a time. This usually results in chaos. I want you to find out what I call authentic full-stack digital transformation truly entails. My guest today is a person who has done it for one of the world's biggest reinsurers. He's the practice director at Cloud Stratex. Welcome, Roger Bennett.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's good to be here.
Great to talk to you, Roger. Roger, before we get into the meat of our chat, tell us briefly what Cloud Stratex does and who it does it for.
We are a consultancy that drives execution. So we're all about strategy to execution, client-side advisory. Our view is that our clients are not getting the most out of their technology, and our job is to help them to do that. There are, in some cases, there are vendors that are pushing certain stories, and they're very happy to push the story until they get a sale, and then they go off into the distance. Our view is that actually quite often there's a lot of good technology there, but it's not implemented well. So our view of the world is we've been around long enough to know what good looks like, and we can help you to understand how far you are from what good looks like, get you to agree that internally, help you to put together some pathways on how to get there, and then help you to execute some of that and go away after that. Our job is to make you self-sufficient as an organization, and that's what we want to do.
I love all that, Roger. You know, it's music to my ears because, as I say, so many people just come in and sell you the strategy and forget about the execution. Now, I said in my opening piece, in my personal opinion, though, I suggested the phrase digital transformation is becoming abused. And I want to talk to you about authentic full stack, that is complete digital transformation to the company, not a little bit here, which causes chaos. Am I right or wrong in my thinking? What in your terms is full digital transformation, its purpose and objective?
Well, I agree with you completely that digital transformation, digital as a term, has come to be one of those almost garbagey terms like cloud that people don't really fully understand what it means or what they're going to get out of it. Is it about robotic process automation? Is it about machine learning? Is it about just connecting things together? Is it about tying things together with string and 2 tin cans? Is that digital? And the fact is that there isn't a standard definition of what digital transformation is, but there is a clear need for what people are doing in digital transformation. And I'll explain. We all have a lot of systems. We've all got systems that do our base technology of, HR, onboarding people, managing the finances. And then we have specialized operational systems for whatever our business happens to be. And then we have marketing systems, and we have to tie all these things together. And the digital transformation is about how we tie those things together in order to eliminate a lot of the noise in the system. So people often misunderstand what a process is. A process is just how we add value, right?
Yeah.
The trick with the process is that it usually takes someone to do something. Well, the beauty of modern technology is that you don't always have to have someone do it. You can automate some of that. And in automating some of that, you can get fluidity and measure across what you're doing. So the more that you can link up the processes and get them joined up and then eliminate the steps where there are wait states, where there is clearly duplication happening, where people don't understand how to do things in a repeatable format, the more we can streamline that, the more of a digital operation we end up with.
Excellent. Yeah. So get rid of the unwanted gates, in other words. Yeah. I don't want to get into technical details, as I'm proposing that this interview is informative for the C-suite or the board of directors. No one needs to make the full change to digital, but he's quite rightly worried. How can they be reassured that the change will work efficiently, effectively, and on time?
Well, as with all good business, you can't manage what you can't measure. You need a way to measure where you're at as far as this digital transformation is concerned, and where you're going, and how to bridge the gap between the two. Now, we use a technique that is a heat map of the various activities that you have in your organization. If you remember ABC costing, it's something a bit like that, of these are all the activities we do. This is the number of times we do them. This is the amount of effort we put into them. And we look at those things in terms of three things. One is the velocity of them, which is the ability to run at pace and to be able to keep moving and keep doing something. The intelligence behind it, which is the amount that we're using our IT in order to support the delivery of those things, and the experience that our staff and our customers are having as a result of it.
Okay, so let's do those three abbreviations again, please, Roger. Sorry for interrupting. Velocity,
intelligence,
and
experience.
VIE. Okay.
VIE, yes. So as long as, if you can get a measure of those things, and we have a way of determining what level you're at for any of your given activities to help give you a heat map, you can see two things. You can see, one, where you're not performing well or where you can make improvement, but you can also see how important it is, because you can see the frequency with which you're doing it. So therefore, we now have a way to prioritize you and to put that into a roadmap. So we can say, these are the first ones we're going to tackle. Now, obviously, you got to look at all the systems that lie underneath that. You've got decisions to make about your application architecture and all of that stuff that needs to be done. But actually, as long as you know where you're going, those decisions are so much easier to make. So we're able to do that assessment that says, here's where you're at digitally speaking. Here's what good looks like digitally speaking for you. And here's the prioritized roadmap to get you there.
I love that simplistic approach, yes. Now, what are the three key things that leaders of businesses are currently doing wrong in their thinking about their change to digital transformation?
I think on the one hand, they're making the assumption that IT are just not thinking this through properly. And they believe that it's an IT problem and not a business problem. The truth is, the activities that we're talking about are business activities. You need to get the business involved. The business needs to recognize that they own IT. They're paying for it. And if their IT leaders are not giving them the information they need in order to be able to make those decisions right, that's what they should be giving them a hard time about. Not about, this isn't working, fix it, right? So I think that's a big one. I think employee engagement is another big one, and making sure that you're talking with your employees. It's amazing how many people want to start a project in a back room. Why? Be out there, communicate about it, get the feedback. We have all these wonderful tools for giving feedback, and we very rarely employ them. It's almost like we're afraid of hearing what our employees have to say, and our customers for that matter. And the third thing is, they're not measuring it. They're not measuring it properly. They're not putting that end state goal of how we're going to get there. And without that kind of measurement, you can't report on progress. You can't say, here's where we are digitally better than we were 6 months ago. And without that, how are you going to justify the money you're spending?
Yeah, I think those are three very succinct things to address by leaders. You led a major digital transformation for the Munich RE group, one of the world's biggest reinsurers. Now, without going into technical details, tell us what the challenge was, your strategic approach, and the outcome of the transformation.
Okay, the challenge there was actually more of an IT challenge to support what the organization wants to do. So the organization wants to use all of its information in a variety of ways to interact more directly with primary insurers and with its end customer, supporting things like they've got a variety of different things underway to reuse information around hurricanes and shipping and all sorts of things. And in order to bring that data together, they need to have an operational base that supports that. So hands up, what CloudStratex tends to focus on is the internal processes that support the business in being able to do its external business, right? So our job was to help understand how they're going to streamline the ownership and the delivery of IT services. Generally, that means cloud, but what does cloud mean? And in the end, we've worked with them to come up with a hybrid cloud that's a multi-cloud that makes sure that they're getting the right blend of good new technology services that are available to the business to use and solid, dependable, reliable, secure data sources that they know they've got control over and that their regulators are happy with. And then stringing that all together with a ServiceNow platform is the next phase of what we're doing. That's where we're bringing the intelligence and the velocity together with the experience of the way in which the business stakeholders will interact with that to get a much better experience.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, at CloudStratex, your company's experience is principally within financial services. Can your approaches and tools translate well into other sectors who need full stack digital transformation? For example, healthcare, manufacturing, hospitality. Do these have common challenges in full digital transformation?
Completely. Absolutely, Malcolm. It's one of the things that I've been saying for the last few years. The work that was done in financial services around IT service management in the beginning of the 2000s was akin to the work that was done in Japan by the great process engineers, guys like Deming and Jura, who made such a huge difference in the way that the Japanese automotive industry in particular worked. The level of quality improvement while bringing costs down. And we've managed to do that with service management and with the way we operate IT now. And that story, combined now with the digital story, is absolutely applicable outside of financial services. I personally have delivered projects in utilities, I did some work for one of the AA's great roadside organizations, roadside recovery organizations. It is absolutely applicable in just about every space. The question is the degree to which you're going to do it, the degree to which you're going to get return on benefit for the investment that you need to make. And as time goes on, these things get less and less expensive. The tool sets can become more developed, and it becomes much more accessible to everybody, right down to mom and pop shops. And in fact, with software as a service now, when we formed CloudStratex, it was very easy to put this stuff in place immediately. In a way, startups have a great advantage.
Excellent. Now, I want to talk to you about the thorny question of change. Everyone votes for it, but nobody likes doing it. What's your thinking on embedding digital transformation with the least disruption, humanely, and with the highest level of fast adoption?
Well, the thing you don't do, Malcolm, is go from strategy straight to execution. I know we are a Stratex, but between those two, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and a lot of engagement. We have a model we call the 5 E's, which is envision. You get your vision right. And you bring that out to people. Where are we going? What does it look like? You get an engagement level right. Engagement is where I'm talking to you, Malcolm, about how it affects you as an individual. What is this going to mean to you in your life and your job? Then we talk about how we're going to educate you on the change and the things you need to learn in order to be able to use this stuff. Then we go to enable That's when we start switching things on. Now you're able to actually use it, but you've got the right accesses to things. You have the right degree of understanding and just-in-time learning to be able to engage properly and, to do your job the way you need to in this new world. And lastly is empower. We give you the ability to measure your own performance and to feed back into the process to improve it. So those 5 E's, envision, engage, and educate, enable, empower, is how we take you through that emotional journey of change. You know, it's the same emotional journey where people go through anger and denial and acceptance. We're helping you to get through that by engaging with you at all those different levels.
I guess it's no more different from the guy next door at the moment to me who's building a house there. If he doesn't have that visual in front, what it's going to look like, you know, and then lay the right foundations, the house is going to look higgledy-piggledy and it'll never last.
That's exactly right. He'll put something together and then he'll wonder why he's got 3 doors between his kitchen and the dining room.
Yes.
And people will say, really? Why did you do it that way? Don't know.
Yeah. It's true. We once rented a house where they'd forgotten to put the staircase in, and so they had to put it in afterwards. It doesn't work like that.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Look, before we move on to my next question, Roger, I just want to point out to viewers that behind me on the screen is the URL for CloudStratex. Please make sure you take it down because you're going to want to after this next question. Roger, I want you to imagine that there's a CEO watching this somewhere in the world and says, I like what Roger's saying and I like his approach. Let's get him in. What's your approach and workflow to such a request?
We have an approach we call the incubator approach, where so as I said earlier, we do an engagement that we call a pulse, where we have a view of what good looks like. We then check how far you are from what good looks like and give you that gap view. And together we plan out a roadmap for how to get you to that end result. All of this makes sure that we have stakeholder agreement on where you're going and on how you're going to get there. There's a line of sight between the issues of today and how they're going to get resolved in the far end. We then, providing that roadmap, help you through the period of initiating and delivering that roadmap until we can get you to self-sufficiency. That's the incubator. We're helping you to create and nurture a capability until it's at the point where you're able to manage it yourselves and we can step back. Now, do we just disappear? Potentially. Equally, if you got another job for us to do, we're happy to stick around. But we are not a managed service provider. We're not there to stay forever. We believe that once our job is done, it's time for you to be self-sufficient.
Now, what I like about what you're saying in your workflow, it gives comfort and confidence. That's good. I like that approach there. So I hope that CEO, that mythical one we're talking about, has taken down that URL. Roger, I like to give all my guests 3 wishes. If I was to give you 3 wishes as to how businesses should view authentic, full digital transformation, what would those 3 wishes be?
It's terrible, Malcolm. You're turning one of my tricks on me. I do this to people all the time.
All right.
I would want them to be integrated. So understanding how the different silos of the business work together to deliver a whole, right?
Yeah.
And that is at every level, from business process right the way down to technology, and can be facilitated by, I promised I wouldn't go into technology, but a platform like ServiceNow can tie together your other platforms in order to give you the seamless end-to-end view of a task. I would want them to be better educated. I think everyone needs to spend time sharpening the saw, as Stephen Covey would say, learning about how this stuff works, so they're not intimidated by it when it comes. And in fact, they're engaged and ahead of the curve and are demanding and asking us for more. That's what I like in a customer. And lastly, I would want them to be more empowered, to feel that their people can deliver and have faith in their ability to deliver, and to know that they're not going to deliver 100% or 150% of everything every time. But if they get 80% every time, you're on a right track and you're moving forward in a way that gets you results without an nth degree of polishing the peanut, or as we say, the perfect getting in the way of the good. So empower your people to make change.
Roger Bennett of Cloud Stratex, I just love your straightforward, very clear way that you go about helping clients achieve full digital transformation. Thank you for a fascinating interview.
Thank you, Malcolm. A real pleasure.